Hey, I'm Matt, and recently I kind of got in quite deep with Necromunda. Me and a few of my mates have been doing a campaign of our own. We've about 2-3 months into that now, really enjoying it. It was my first tiptoe into Necromunda, and I went for the Paladin Forces. They kind of start here and they don't necessarily get any better. Whereas everybody else seems to kind of start a little bit lower, but then as time goes on, they incrementally get better. So I've kind of been a bit disenfranchised with them. I've not really engaged with them as much. I've got a Autobot, I've got the Enforcers and the Subjugators, and overall they've not really played too well. And I don't know whether that's a user problem or whether that's something else. So when they released Secundus as a box game, I was kind of blindsided by the fact that Gene Stealers were a thing in Necromunda and that I could potentially use them. And then obviously the sculpts that you saw through the community pages and all of the things that we're looking forward to going forward. Like, I'm filming this video on back end of August, and as it sits, I've just pre-ordered the Book of Desolation, which is a rule set which helps integrate some of the models into the regular base game. Outside of obviously Secundus being a box game itself, it's kind of its own entity. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing what comes of that. So, where do we start? Well, one of the things that came out alongside the Secundus box set, because there's many video on how the box set comes and what you expect and what you see out of it, and to be blunt, I've built half the models, so it would be pointless for me to have a look in that box and go, oh, look at this half-finished sprue. It's kind of pointless. However, one of the things that I bought alongside the Secundus box set is this. So this is the Hive Data Cluster box. It comes with two of these little files right here. And overall, it's both a terrain piece, but it's also an objective piece as well. You can use it thematically within your games, use it as objective control, have it as, really the golden carrot for your gangs to fight over and try and attain the argotech and the data stored on these crystals. So in this video, I'm going to review this box, see what comes of it, see how easy it is to put together as well. I'm a hobbyist. I've been in the hobby or around the hobby for 2 decades now, so 20 plus years, but I've never really kind of engaged with it massively on a huge scale as much as I have done with Necromunda. So it'll be interesting to see from somebody who has quite good experience, but quite limited to the technical kits and the more advanced kits to play with, what we make of it. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So before we jump into it, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to be using for this build. Really, really simple products that I'm using today. I am going to start off with glue. I use the Revell Contactor Professional. The Revell Contactor Professional, it's basically the glue that I got first when I was a kid. I actually started on Airfix way back when. It was probably when I was 9 or 10, and I think I got a Spitfire for Christmas off my uncle. He gave me this alongside it to help glue it all together because of the needle tip, and from that point I just thought, well, if it works for one, it works for the other, and ever since I've used this. I've used Games Workshop glue. It works really well. Plastic glue is effectively plastic glue, whichever way you go. This one specifically for me, I've found it dries quite quickly because of the needlepoint applicator. It's quite easy to precisely put the glue where you want it to go. It's a personal choice. I have nothing against Games Workshop glue. I think it's perfectly good. It works. It does what it says on the tub. But for me, I've just gone through that through habit. If you're in Games Workshop and you're looking to buy, the bits and bobs that you can get their glue. It's really good. It sticks. Next thing is snips. I have 2 sets. One is a little bit more heavy duty, and the other one is just some Revell snips. I got these ones because they're a little bit more springy and the comfort side of things. So this is like a rubberized handle grip that you use. It's, for me, it's about personal preference. If you're cutting out lots and lots and lots of bits, having that little bit of comfort as you do so goes a long way. I will, however, say that these are probably the best snips that I've ever bought. Really ergonomic design, really strong, great grip, and the weight of them, you know that you're not going to have to worry about your tools failing you. So when you're going through and using your snips for whatever you're using them for, absolutely ideal. These are ideal for going through sprue. As I say, they're a lot more heavy duty than the Revell ones, so I tend to use these more for the nubbins, and I tend to use these more for sprue. But again, personal preference. Everybody builds differently. Don't worry about it. If somebody builds differently to you, nobody's wrong, nobody's right. It's just what they've done for X amount of years. For me, I've been in the hobby for over 20 years now. I've gone from the old GW snips to a pair of electrician snips, and I've also used these. I've had these for about a year now, and they still perfectly work well, and I just enjoy them. Next thing is the mold line remover. Highly contested on the internet, this little bad lad is. I don't care who you are or what you say. If you're not removing your mold lines as and when you see them, then you're not really going to have a fully finished product at the end of it. Now, that's a very strong statement. I don't want to divide anybody. I don't want to, if you just want to put your model on the battlefield, rough paint job, so it's battlefield ready, that's cool. That's usually what I do. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when you're looking at a kit like this, which is a bit more detailed, you don't really want to be seeing those mold lines. You don't really want to be seeing, something that takes you thematically outside of the game. This little tool here, yes, it's quite expensive from GW. It's about 20 quid. Overall, worth it. It's, again, quite heavy duty, and absolutely ideal to remove any mold lines that you may see upon your models. I'll be using this quite a lot with the walls and the columns kits because they have quite a lot of mold lines. Next thing, big boy tool, scalpel. So it's a big boy tool, got to be 18 to buy them. This is literally £1 from Hobby Store. I can't even remember the name of the hobby store now. Hobbycraft, that's the one. It was £1 for a pack of 3. I only use this in a very small select handful of applications, but predominantly it's to get through, again, going alongside the mold line side of things, just getting rid of some of the mold lines as you go. But also it helps to remove some flashing. There's very, very, very little flashing on GW sprues. If you're going into the resin side of things and fine cast, yes, you're going to find a lot of flashing. Flashing is effectively webbing in between parts when they've been casting, the parts themselves on the sprue or on the little little resin holders or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you'll find very fine, well, it's called flashing, in between two structural parts of the model, and you use something like this, and you just very simply just cut through and work up from there. Sanding sticks. These two sanding sticks, I have gone through about, I would say 7 or 8 of each over the last year. They don't dull down very quickly. However, you've got a 320 grit and you've got a 240 grit sanding stick. This is for finishing work. I really like finishing. I really like making the model look smooth and try and get it as strong of a base model as you possibly can before applying paint. For me, I just go from this to this, so from a slightly rougher surface, so the 240, going into the 320 grit, which is a lot finer. I sometimes just skip this step and just use this. I sometimes use both. It purely depends upon what I'm working with. I bought them on Amazon. I bought them in a massive pack. You get about 15, 20 in a little pack, and they're ideal. They do exactly as you want them to. They're quite flexible too. They're quite rigid, but they're also quite flexible. They've got a bit of give in them, and also they're quite spongy. So there's ample opportunity for you to be able to use them correctly within your models without actually destroying or disturbing the models themselves. So that's equipment: glue, snips, mold line remover, big boy out of mold line remover, 240 grit sandpaper or sanding stick, and 320 grit sanding stick. So let's get into it. So now that the model is all built and prepped, handily it has a little podium at the very bottom which fit really perfectly into a GW handle. So I've gone in with a base primer of Chaos Black, just Citadel colour rattle can, and then I've gone in with a Colour Forge Steel Forge Silver. It's one of their metallics. It's basically Lead Belcher, just with a different title. Colour Forge are absolutely brilliant for their primers. Same with GW. I have heard reports of like being hit or miss on application. I personally have never encountered this issue, and I've used pretty much their entire range by now, to be honest with you, in years gone by. I've only recently got onto Colour Forge. It was through necessity, if nothing else. I went to my local game store. They didn't have Lead Belcher. They said this is exactly the same thing. I trust the guy. I bought the thing. I used the thing. And it's come out really nice. I have also applied Lead Belcher on top of another model in the past. So prior to this, I used it on top of this, and it was as near as makes no difference. You could barely tell any difference. There was maybe a small change in the metallic flake, so like you could tell it was a little bit more metallic in some areas than others, but it was barely noticeable, not a problem. So I've now primed it, and I've also done the actual data clusters themselves. So they're right, wrong rules, so there's 4 of them. And yeah, so I'm now going to get this painted. And there we go, all painted. So there's going to be a second video following the release of this video. So this is part 1. Part 2 is exclusively surrounding the painting side of this. Everything to do with the creative process that I go through, and specifically more the weathering side. So look forward to that. But yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with how this came out. It looks absolutely sick. It's going to look really cool when we play with it on the board. The data clusters do come out as well, so that's really cool. I haven't magnetized them or anything, they just sit quite nicely within their little holders. But yeah, really happy with how this has come out. So that was a bit of fun. The kit was pretty easy and pretty straightforward to go through. Obviously, as you saw, pieces really fit well. It's all about the prep work as well. So, especially in the newer kits, you used to be able to get away with leaving your sprue nubbins on and that sort of thing. But that little bit of cleanup and that little extra time and attention that you pay to that really helps for the overall effect of the model when it's done. Now, there was a bit of a jump between it being base coated and just that little look round and it being painted. That's a separate video. I didn't want to have the painting of the model within this video. I thought this would just be a more of a step-by-step as how I got through the building process and my thoughts and feelings on the actual model once it's done. So as I say, this video purely about the box and purely about the opening and building experience of it. Then there's going to be a second video on the painting side of things. Now, just as a bit of a give you an idea, well, just to give you an idea as to what I'm going to be doing going forward. So as you can see, I've got quite a bit of terrain behind us. I've just set this up for the purpose of this video, really. I don't just sit there with them and just stare at them in awe. No, these are all going to be going on a full board that I'm designing and making as it sits. Prior to me starting YouTube and that sort of thing, I've built one board. That's nearly at its finishing point. I'm just doing the last bits of weathering, and I'll do a video on that just to give you a little look around that one specific tile, give you a walkthrough of my creative process, and just see, just to really kind of vocalize my creative decisions and my creative choices. But I look forward to seeing how the data stack sets work within the actual game itself. To give you an idea as to what we're thinking of for our game. So we're currently doing a base game Necromunda campaign. What we're looking to do partway through it, because I'm the Power Knight Enforcers, we can't really go to Secundus. That's not really a thing we can do. In the lore anyway. I haven't seen what the lore says in the Book of Desolation yet, but who knows. But the headcanon that we have so far is basically there's been a hole found in the dust wall, and there's been whispers on the winds of Hive Secundus having something going on in there, and the gangs that are not myself are looking to potentially go and explore that, get some loot, get some new architect, get some of the data clusters, and basically just bring some of their findings back to the base game, and then we'll continue on. It's kind of like a break in the middle of the campaign to do a mini campaign of its own right, but then also we come against the big bad, which is obviously the Genestealer cult and the Malstrain Genestealers specifically. I think that's going to be really cool. I love the sculpts that they've shown us on Warhammer Community. I really look forward to getting my hands on the alpha and looking forward to getting myself pretty much the whole range, to be honest with you. I'm currently humming and hawing as to what my colour scheme for the Malstrain is going to be. I've got regular Genestealers for my High Fleet Behemoth project that I did for the last year. There'll be a video on that as as days and weeks go on. I have quite a lot. I spent a whole year, and there's like over 100 models that are pretty much fully painted and done. I think as it sits, as the recording of this video, I've only got like maybe three models left to paint. But that in its own right has given us a colour scheme of the old behemoth, so the white head, the red stripes. I want to do something a bit more different, a bit more organic, and I'm pulling inspiration from poison tree frogs and sort of Amazonian amphibians, basically. I'm looking to potentially go down the greens and browns route. So a little bit more natural, but still that desertopic kind of realism that I personally find really fun to paint. So, to cap off, great little kit. Value for money, it's kind of there. I've always been a bit on the fence about the GW pricing schedule. With them being a PLC, obviously they've got to adhere to their shareholders and, you know, gaining money for the company and all that sort of thing and growing the company. That's great. I understand that corporate mentality. That's fine. But when it comes to a hobbyist, or when it comes to somebody who's either maybe trying to enter the world of Necromunda or enter the world of Games Workshop as a whole, whichever game system that you decide to go into, I mean, 40k, for example, my Behemoth, Hive Fleet Behemoth army that I've got there, I probably put a good £600-700 into that, and you're not really talking that many models. You're only talking maybe, you know, as I say, about 100 models, 110 models there or thereabouts, all said and done. So to get into Necromunda, I mean, if you look at the board behind us, I mean, you've got £100 here, you've got £50 here, £50 here, £50 here, £50 here. Like, that's money. And these were, what, £35, £36 straight from GW. It's, you know, it's horses for courses at the end of the day. That's a whole conversation of its own right, you know, the value for money versus the money that you're able or willing to put into the game and the hobby, and you know, and what the net return is on that. Like, what happiness does it provide you, and what joy does it give you, and what community opportunities it gives you. So being with your friends and socialising and that sort of thing, or going down to your local game store, playing games there, or having friends over for a few drinks and some food and a couple of games of Necromunda, just whatever your situation may be, that's, you know, that's a whole conversation of its own right, and maybe we'll do something on that in the future. But for the time being, it was good fun building it, really enjoyed it, a little bit fiddly in parts, but outside of that, I would probably rate it about a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10 technical. More than 6 out of 10, to be honest with you. It wasn't that bad, to be fair. I think the only thing that kind of my little primate brain is still getting used to is the idea of having things that you don't glue on. But, you know, that's that. So, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making the video. This is the first time you've seen my face. Hi, this is my face. I look forward to making more videos as time goes on. It's going to be quite fun. I've got quite a lot to be cracking on with. You probably see just here, that's not a Necromunda box. That's something a little bit different. I just put it there for structural support for this one. So yeah, I've got a few ideas for videos in the pipeline. Obviously we've discussed like 3 in this video already. Hope you enjoyed. So if you did, just drop me a like, drop me a subscribe if you want to see more and listen to my voice chatting shit. Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Links to my Instagram will be in the comments below. You'll see a lot of my Hive Fleet Behemoth stuff in there. There's not really much in the way of Necromunda on there as of yet. And yeah, just have a good day. I've been Matt. This has been my beard. Ta-ra.